I knew something was wrong the moment his smile didn't reach his eyes. My father-in-law had always been polite in that clipped, chilly way men like him used to remind you you're temporary. But that morning, as the photographer unpacked her gear in the garden, he looked at me the way someone might stare at a stain they plan to scrub out later. He didn't say a word, he didn't have to. I heard the intention in the silence. I stood beside my husband, pretending not to notice as his father pulled the photographer aside. Their whispers drifted just close enough for me to catch the shape of them. Family only. Real family. A soft laugh, the kind that slices instead of warms. Then his hand made a subtle gesture in my direction, like he was flicking away dust. It shouldn't have hurt. I'd seen this coming years ago, in flashes, sharp little moments that jabbed and faded. The night before our wedding, when he accidentally forgot my name during the toast. The Christmas, he handed out matching gifts to everyone except me. The family portrait he once framed in the hallway, the one taken a month after our marriage, where he cropped me out so tightly you could only see the edge of my dress. He never called it malice, he called it tradition. I had survived worse than being trimmed out of a picture, but the thing about little cuts is they bleed eventually. My husband squeezed my hand, his thumb brushing the inside of my wrist the way he did when he wanted to tell me he saw everything. Before I could warn him not to make a scene, his father clapped loudly, announcing the first round of photos. Parents, siblings, cousins. "Spouses can step aside," he said, waving me off like a hired photographer's assistant. I stepped back without protest. The breeze was cold, almost surgical against my neck. While they arranged themselves into a perfectly symmetrical tableau, I caught my reflection in the patio doors behind them. I was calm. Too calm. The kind of calm that comes right before a decision. My father-in-law believed exclusion was power. He thought invisibility was a punishment. He had no idea what I'd been working on in the dark. The photographer lifted her camera. My husband didn't move. He stayed rooted beside me, hands in his pockets, expression smooth as glass. "Son," his father barked, "get in position!" My husband tilted his head. "No." The garden froze. Even the birds seemed to stop midair. He walked forward slowly, letting the weight of the moment stretch thin. "If my wife isn't in the photos," he said, "there will be no photos today, or any day." His father's face crumpled. Not with sadness, no, with offense. Pure, righteous offense. "This is a family moment," he snapped. My husband gave a small, humorless smile. "Yes," he said, "which is why she belongs in it." But that wasn't the sentence that changed everything. That came later. While they argued in low, brittle voices, stepped away, letting the scene dissolve behind me. My moment wasn't in the garden. My revenge had been set in motion weeks before, tucked neatly into the spaces my father-in-law assumed I never paid attention to. It started with a folder I discovered on his office computer during a family dinner, a folder labeled with a false project name, full of invoices and offshore transfers. Nothing illegal on its own, but combined, they painted a picture he wouldn't want public. Funds diverted, employees underpaid, taxes shaved in ways that whispered fraud but didn't shout it. I didn't steal anything. I didn't hack. I simply followed the digital breadcrumbs he'd left unsecured, like a man convinced no one would ever question him. I collected screenshots, exported emails, copied timestamps. Evidence hides best in plain sight. Still, I hadn't planned to use it, not unless he pushed me far enough. And today, he had. By the time they all caught up to me inside the house, I was sitting at the dining table, my laptop open, a single email drafted. No attachments yet, just a blank subject line and an address typed into the receiver field, the company's internal ethics division. My father-in-law's voice cracked like a whip. "What do you think you're doing?" I turned the laptop toward him. "I'm deciding," I said quietly, "whether this is the day you finally see me." His face drained of color. For the first time since I had known him, he looked unsure. My husband stepped beside me, protective but steady. He read the screen without needing explanations. He knew I didn't make threats. I made plans. To be clear, I continued, I don't want your company. I don't want your money. I don't want anything but respect, the kind you extend to everyone else automatically. His father sputtered. You're blackmailing me? No, I said. I'm giving you a choice. Silence stretched like frost, forming across a window pane. Then my husband leaned forward, his voice low enough to be intimate, lethal. Dad, she's been patient with you for years. I won't ask her to tolerate it anymore. His father's gaze flicked between us, calculating, unraveling. And then my husband delivered the sentence that broke him clean in half. If you ever try to erase my wife again, he said, I'll help her send the email. There it was. The fracture, the recognition, the first real consequence he had ever faced. The photographer waited awkwardly in the hallway, camera in hand. My husband invited her back into the garden. This time he didn't ask. His father posed stiffly beside us, eyes hollow, a man forced to confront a mirror he'd spent years avoiding. Later, after everyone had gone and the evening settled into a soft, bruised blue, I sat alone on the back steps. My husband joined me, pressing a warm cup of tea into my hands. You didn't send it, he said. Not yet. He nodded. You won't have to. Maybe he was right. Maybe consequences lived best as shadows on the wall, visible enough to remind, dark enough to restrain. But I kept the evidence. Not to use, just to know I could. Power isn't revenge. Power is choice. And sometimes the quietest choices are the sharpest ones. I watched the last light slip behind the trees and felt the day finally loosen its grip around my ribs. The world was silent, but not empty. Not anymore. Sometimes justice is nothing more than being seen by the one who tried hardest not to. And if you want to hear more stories carved from quiet shadows, stay close.